Here, and we are now pleased to be joined by a surprise guest, Mr. Ryan McGee, on the program today. Ryan, the time's appreciated. How you doing?
I'm good, boys. I was doing something down here, and all of a sudden I saw the friendly face of JJ, and I was like, all right, I'll do whatever he wants.
We haven't had you on the show in a little bit.
I know. I was telling our great PR rep Amanda Brooks. I was like, I need to find my dudes from the Plains and check on you guys. I'm glad you're doing all right.
Well, we're glad to have you here with us.
Yeah.
How's Media Days treating you this year?
It's good. If I'm being honest, I'm ready to go home. But Lane Kiffin's coming tomorrow morning, and that'll be sufficiently awkward for me. I don't know if you guys heard, I did a really great documentary about him that he burned to the ground about 3 weeks later.
Oh no!
Yeah, we did that at E60 last year, and we changed the way the nation felt about Lane Kiffin. And a month later, he just put it right back where it used to be. So, but it'd be good to see him. But it's been a great week, and it's an interesting time, right? We got I can't ever remember a time when every team in the conference had a quarterback they believed in.
Yep.
Even if it's a guy that has a lot of experience like Arch or Lenore Sellers, or if it's a guy that hasn't ever taken a snap, which is going to be the situation at Tennessee and Alabama. But and then we got 5 new coaches, and then Lane changed jobs, and so it's a. Marty and I were talking about this. We started doing our talking season specials. That's what we're recording for next month. We started doing those in 2018. There's only one head coach left from that year.
Oh wow!
And
Kirby.
that's Kirby. That's it. Yeah. And the next longest tenured coach is, I think, Drink. I mean,
yeah.
It's nuts. But it's been a good week.
Yeah, it seems like everyone's getting chewed up and spitting out, and obviously Auburn, unfortunately, familiar with that the last couple of cycles. But Alex Golesh comes into the Plains and was very familiar with this territory in Tampa.
Yes.
The last few seasons, and I don't know what the proper expectations are when you've got so many moving parts of it, but people like Indiana make you dream big thoughts for a year or two. Auburn's not dreaming that big this year, but, I mean, what's it going to take to finally get the first winning season since 2020?
That's
crazy.
That's the craziest sentence. It's just, and I've talked to you guys a lot over the years. My feeling about the last coach is very well documented. That ended about like I thought it was going to. I think I told you guys that, but that stat is nuts to me. It's funny. I was talking to the folks from Arkansas yesterday, and I was telling them, I said, I guess the hope is that Indiana did what they did, and the fact that Tennessee was lost in the woods for 15 years, and now a disappointing year for them is 8 wins. And so I think that you can get there a lot quicker than you used to. I think even when Hugh moved to Auburn, I think that it was still more of the old business model where you still, all right, it's going to take several years and we'll get our guys in there. That's kind of done. But I like Golesh a lot. I think the fact that he kind of doesn't know what he doesn't know in this case, as opposed to 2 coaches ago, I think in this case that might actually be a big benefit. I think it helps that you got a quarterback in there that is unfamiliar to the area, but is certainly familiar to the coaching staff. And so I think there's a chance. I kind of put Auburn in the category of, are they good enough to win the conference? No. I think they have a winning record, but I think they're good enough to maybe ruin it for somebody else, maybe a couple other teams. So I don't think it's going to be a boring year by any stretch.
Well, I think a lot of Auburn fans are happy he's familiar with football and not so much the golf course.
Yeah. We need the microphones off and a couple of beers if we're going to have that conversation. But the reality is that yes. But I love the story, and sometimes and rightfully so. And I was one that resisted this. You get a little wary of. I'm putting this in air quotes because we're already an outsider. But in the case of Golesh, he knows what he's getting into. I love his story. I mean, I asked him the question when we had him in our room for our talking season specials about. I was in Brooklyn a couple of weeks ago working on a project, and I said to him, I go, where in the world did you even play football? And he started talking about playing on a concrete playground with a Nerf football at his public elementary school. And then obviously it's like the picture you see of Willie Mays playing stickball in Brooklyn. That was kind of Alex slinging the football around in the street. So I love that guy being in the SEC, and now I think he's willing to throw everything up against the wall and see what happens, which I think is kind of what Auburn needs.
Well, and you go from a fact where last year there were no new head coaches in the SEC, and now there's 6, 5 really.
Yeah.
But we look at this across the map, and LSU's spending gobs of money,
Yep.
and Florida really likes their guy. Auburn really likes their guy. I'm not sure Arkansas fans love their guy, but they'll try to give Silverfield a chance.
They don't really love a lot. Right. and that's well earned. That's some PTSD.
All these schools, what do you think? Who is best positioned, if not even for this year? Do you think it is Lane Kiffin that ends up having what they all hope he will have in Baton Rouge? Do you think John Summerall gets Florida righted?
I like John Summerall a lot, and I like him because when you make a coaching change, you really just you're not just wanting an oil change, you're wanting an engine change, and I adore the coach they just showed the door. And I'm rooting for him on every level. We'll always root for him. But they needed an engine change, and they're getting one in him. And I think they're getting an engine change at Auburn. I really believe that. I don't know they're getting one at Arkansas, right? I don't think they're getting one at Ole Miss because it's someone from that same staff. The answer to the question is this Lane, because the money and the resources and all those things are there. Now that being said, the coach that took over for him before that, Brian Kelly, who I knew when he was at Notre Dame and loved to tell me the story about the 10 years of meetings it took to get the little bitty scoreboard at Notre Dame replaced with a still pretty little video board. And he wanted to go to LSU because they'll let me do whatever I want. And that's what we're hearing. Right. Once Lane quits saying stupid stuff, what we hear from him is, I'm taking this job because it's put me in position to win a national championship. So the answer is him. Because for what you say what you want about him, he wins football games, and so he's going to win. It's just a matter. I'll say the same thing about him that I said to you guys about Hugh. I don't know how it's going to end with Lane and LSU, but it will end spectacularly. When it does. But he's going to win football games, so that's the answer. But I just there's something about Summerall, and I might be a prisoner of the moment because we just talked to him 2 hours ago. But there's a definite energy there, and there's also a track record of going into places and winning at a couple places that didn't win a lot.
What about Alabama? Because with Kalen DeBoer in year number 3, there's been some conversation about them being under-talked about, which has not happened since 06 or 07.
Right.
Well, the year before Saban got there. Even though they weren't good in 06, 07, they were probably talking about them a lot. I mean, where is that program truly at in year number 3 with Kalen DeBoer?
I think they're in a better position than the nation is ready to give them credit for. And part of that is because I love sitting with Kalen DeBoer in his office and talking to him is like an education. I wish more of that came across with him publicly because he's fascinating. He really is, and he's so focused. And so I think very quietly, it's not like the year was awful last year, right? And considering there was a reset button there, and considering all the guys that left when Saban left, I think they're in a position. And now, obviously, it'd be nice to have a quarterback with more time, but I really believe Ryan Williams is going to be back to what we saw 2 years ago. And everyone tells me they're going to run the football a lot better than they have. And so I think they are in a position to catch people's attention. I think most people are expected to get their attention caught by a hot seat or whatever. But I think they might go the other way.
Ryan, I want to go. I saw that you posted this on social media not too long ago, but you seem to have uncovered what could be a museum for college football when you were recently helping your father move.
Yeah, my dad's house. Yeah. No, it's funny. So I went and found all these bowl game reps are here, and I'm just breathlessly going and finding these guys because, I didn't. So my dad and my stepmom were moving into a new place. I was in Charlotte, and I missed ACC media days last week, even though it was 15 minutes from my house because I'm helping my dad move. But going through my dad's stuff, I understand we're on radio here, but this is that's my dad's. My dad was a college football official for 40 years. This is my dad's penalty card from the 2009 national championship game. And I showed this to Tebow. That's the personal foul gator chomp penalty that went against Tebow at the end of that game. That was my dad's last game with Sam Bradford and Tebow. But helmets and footballs, and I'm like, where in the hell did this ball come from? And he worked Michigan Notre Dame at Notre Dame, and the game ended in a tie. And the last play of the game was like a batted down pass or an interception or whatever, and the linebacker from Michigan that made the play just jumped up and took the ball and handed it to Dad. And Dad just tucked it under his arm and left. And so I was like, is this ball from the game of the Michigan Notre Dame game. So yeah, going through his stuff is just, and I've already called the College Football Hall of Fame because I'm like, hey, Dad's got all this stuff, and they had told me they don't have any officiating because my dad's uniform from the Army-Navy game, from Florida State, from the Rose Bowl, from all these great games, and I'm like, if y'all want this stuff, so I think a lot of that I'm going to keep some for myself,
right.
But I think a lot of that we're going to take down to the College Football Hall of Fame.
It's amazing some of the stuff that you put away, as life happens.
And McGee's are pack rats, dude. My poor wife. And my office is like that. Like, I have every credential for everything I ever covered. I mean, my first credentials, I was 12 years old. My dad was an ACC football official, and he would take with me to sidelines. So I've got every ticket stub. I've got my poor wife. She's just like, what? But my office is it's not very big. And if you ever see me like on television from my house, it gives claustrophobic people the freak out because I have so much crap between that and the Star Wars stuff. And I got so, and it's just, but anyhow, but yeah, we don't throw away anything. Is my point.
And see, I'm older than these guys, but I'm the same way. I collect stuff. I recently found the program from the 1988 Gator Bowl.
Oh yeah,
which is Vince Dooley's last game.
My dad was field judging that game. He was.
Wow.
My dad.
I'm going to have to go back and find it and see the list on there.
In fact, I thought I was going to Georgia. I was a senior in high school and went to that game. And that was the game that Coach Dooley used to always tell me. That's the game when they turned Andre Rison into a millionaire because But I went to that game, and then we visited Georgia on the way home. And I had a Georgia sweatshirt.
Yep.
I turned in my housing deposit, and then my dad worked a game at Tennessee the next year, and I was like, oh wait, I might like it here a little better. But yeah, no, dude, I got everything. Yeah. I got programs. I've got, and when I worked for the football team at Tennessee, I would travel with the team. And so I've got all this stuff, man. Yeah. And I got tickets. And I have ticket stubs from some painful Tennessee losses and ties. But Auburn had the coolest looking tickets in the late 80s, early 90s. It was like this cartoonist would do it. And I have a ticket stub from one of the most painful ties in Tennessee history. I think it was 31-31 at Auburn. It would have been like 90. And Tennessee missed a field goal at the end of the game.
Yeah.
But I still have I have the ticket stuff framed in my office because it was the coolest looking ticket. I have all that crap, man.
You go back and watch the film or the video of that Georgia Michigan State 88.
Yeah.
Chris Fowler was a young-faced sideline reporter on that.
You know what's funny is my job back in the day was to record all of Dad's games on VHS. Because back then there wasn't film and all that stuff, you kids out there. And so my dad, I would record the game for him game on Saturday, and then on Sunday we'd sit and watch it. And he would explain why they did this. But what's crazy about that Gator Bowl is New Year's Eve. And what's crazy about that Gator Bowl is that like halfway through the game, you hear the PA announcer in the stadium, and he's like, paging Louise, this woman's name, call your sister Mary at telephone number, and read the woman's phone number over the PA. I was like, man, times have changed.
Yes,
yeah, that night.
That's some good memories.
Yeah, Coach Stewart was always so funny about that game. Ryan McGee, we turned Andre Rison into a millionaire, and he's always like, and about halfway through the game, I looked at Ray Goff and I go, I'm letting you call this game. I'm about to be the head coach again because they were trying to run their new offense,
right?
And they almost lost. But that was a fun night, man.
Yeah, Tony Mandarich was on that team.
It was a bust.
I'm about to hand you my phone, and I'm going to let you call my wife and tell her that it's okay to keep stuff.
Oh, dude,
because I've got everything in the sun.
I'm not sure if it's okay, but I'm doing it. But it is fun going back through it. What my wife told me was, because she's like, you can just take pictures of it. You don't have to keep all this paper stuff. I'm like, yes, I do. I have Mayfield milk crates that we stole in college that are still just jam full of programs that I brought home when I would go on the road with the Tennessee team.
Yeah. He is Ryan McGee of the ESPN and SEC Network joining us today. Ryan, I do want to wrap up with one note about where we're headed in college athletics. Not to ruin the fun.
No, I got you.
Yep. But, we had Commissioner Sankey on earlier, and he said it's weighing on him about conference championships.
I think he would have already retired.
And
I really do. I think that he is still doing this job because he doesn't want to leave the sport in the state that it's in right now. I think he would have hung it up 2 years ago if he'd known all this was coming.
And that was along the lines of my question, because I also just asked him straight up about the playoff. Like, okay, let's find another solution, 16, 24, whatever you like, but does it really end there?
Right.
And my question to you is, will we ever calm down again? Will we ever get to a stable place where we're not trying to change everything all at once?
I don't think so, because I think that what we're lacking right now is we're lacking long-term vision. And so every decision now is made in the short term. And I think that's the way it's always going to be, because the reality is that the coaches change all the time and the ADs change all the time, and Sankey's kind of a unicorn. You really look at it, the days of 25-year-long commissioners are done. And so everyone's wanting to make a decision now to help them go do something else or to retire sooner. And so that's what I worry about is what do you project this out to be 10 years from now, 15 years from now, for 20 years from now? We talk about NASCAR on the show a lot with you guys, and the cautionary tale is, and I worked there, and Brett Yormark, Commissioner of the Big 12, was in those meetings with me. He's a VP at NASCAR back then. And Brian France, at the time the president of NASCAR, chairman, would look at us and go, listen, the core fans are going to stick around no matter what we do. And they got rid of country music, and they quit talking about, like the mandate was, no longer talk about moonshine. Don't book country music acts for pre-race concerts. We canceled TV contracts with like country music television and all this stuff, and they went killing the goose for leaving Darlington on Labor Day weekend. I mean, I'm from Rockingham, closing Rockingham, making those decisions because they said the core fan base would just stick around. Well, you take away Notre Dame, USC, and you take away bowl games, which they're really thinking about doing, and you start taking, and you got Tennessee and Georgia playing every 10 years, and they were talking about getting rid of the third Saturday in October, and I was banging on the door in Birmingham going, so what are you doing? I mean, it's just, but one, even paper tickets, right? You start doing these things to take away from what we all fell in love with about college football, because you think the core audience is just going to stick around, and that's what I worry about, man. If you start messing with the DNA of Saturday, you cannot get your feelings hurt if people go find something else to do. And if your dream is to be the NFL, guess what people are going to do? They're going to watch the NFL. Like, I don't get it. I just don't understand. Saturday should be Saturday, and Sunday should be Sunday. And we are trying to create an NFL playoff model, and we're trying to create an NFL business model and break away this and that and NFC. And if I wanted to watch Sunday, I'd watch Sunday. I don't watch Sunday. I watch Saturday. And so that's what I worry about.
And even something as minute, and again, not throwing John McDade or anything officiating under the bus, but they referenced a couple times yesterday rule changes that were, quote, more like the NFL.
No.
Like a
10-minute warning. What are we doing?
Right, exactly.
And so I had a conversation with John McDade 2 days ago. It's everything you're doing, and now because what's happening now is all these officiating coordinators are coming from the NFL, and that never happened before. And Al Riveron, who just retired or who just resigned from the ACC, he was an NFL official. And I just this obsession with trying to be the NFL, don't get your feelings hurt if people quit watching because they start watching the NFL. I just that whole, it's like Major League Baseball is wanting to turn college baseball into the minor leagues. I don't want it to be minor. I love the minor leagues. Yeah. Y'all know that. I love college baseball. I don't want them to be the same thing. Follow the money, boys. That's what always happens. But when you're making money, you can make really bad decisions. But then when the money slows down, and that's going to happen, when the money slows down, those bad decisions get exposed, and that's what happened in NASCAR, and that's why they've never recovered since 2006.
He is Ryan McGee of ESPN and the SEC Network. Of course, Marty McGee.
Yeah.
Tell me what's going on with Marty McGee this week.
So we're radio only right now, which is my favorite. We're back on SEC Network, but it's simulcast. So we don't have to be on camera, which is awesome, because you guys know there's nothing more fun than doing radio with no pants on. And so we'll be doing radio.
Tell them my secrets.
Yeah, but 7 a.m. Eastern, 6 a.m. Central on all the ESPN radio affiliates and on the app. And then our talking season specials. We're going 3 this year. 1 with the new coaches and 2 with the returning coaches. Those will air in the middle of August, and then Marty and I will hit the road this fall like we always do and see what kind of beer they have in all these places.
I think my favorite picture from Marty and McGee on radio is inside the truck broadcast.
Every summer.
That's right.
Every summer at the beach. My family owns the world's smallest beach house, and my wife and daughter are asleep upstairs, and I go downstairs and I plug the Comrex is plugged in at the truck, and I just sit there with my headset on, and I do the radio, and I watch all the renters pack up their crap and leave. That's my favorite show of the year.
Yeah.
Ryan McGee with us today on Sports Call. Ryan, it's so good to catch back up with you.
You guys are the best. Appreciate you.
Have you on again sometime soon. That is Ryan McGee of ESPN and the SEC Network joining us today on Sports Call. We're going to take our next time out of the program, back with much more right after this.